Yep. Good evening, everyone. So last session, we started discussing about how we can go with the forms, right? So I given a simple overview on template-driven forms. So today we will see some example actually. So we need to understand what is a template driven form and what is its purpose. I explained in the last session. So when to use a template driven form also, I given you an point. Actually, now we need to know how to configuring a template driven form. We will see the steps how we can configure a template driven form. To configure a template driven form, first thing you need to import one library into your project. So first step, so go to app module and import the library. So what is the library? We have to import forms module from Angular forms library. After that, in imports, you have to configure forms module. There you have to set the forms module. This is first thing. So we have to make sure that in the project forms module is enabled. Then only we can use ng model and all. So that is the first step. Next step, form is configured by using ng form. And that means here we have to write a form hash, any reference name is equal to ng form. This is used for which element? Form element. Form is configured with ng form. Next, we need another one, that is elements. Elements are configured by using ng model. Elements are configured by using ng model. That means for text box, input type text, we have to use what? ng model. We will have a reference name is equal to ng model. Or there is a drop down for that ng model. There will be a reference name is equal to hash, some reference name is equal to ng model, like this. For every element, we need to define that ng model. This is configuring the form and configuring the elements. We have to configure the form and elements. Now, here, why we have to configure the form? Do we need to deal anything directly with the form? What do you say? Why we need to configure the form? Do we need to deal with the form directly anywhere? Yes, we have to deal with the form directly sometimes. What you will deal with the form? Sometimes we need to collect all the data of form and submit to server. Collecting from individual elements is a lengthy process. In a form, if there are 100 elements, to collect data from all those elements is a very risky one. But through one reference, because they are all present in a form, through one reference, you can access all the elements. That means form is a container which contains collection of elements. If you want to handle all those elements simultaneously at the same time, then we can go with reference of form. That means sometimes we need to submit data to server where all the form data need to be submitted. Then individually collecting the data from every element is a lengthy process. We can manage that by using this reference. I will show you. We will see that. So how we can manage the form? Actually, so ng form provides properties so that are used to handle form and its elements. Like we have the properties like value is a property. We have a property like invalid. We have like valid. We have like pristine. We have like dirty, like this. We have like submitted. These all you will see in the concept of validation. I will tell you. Here, these are all the properties of form. What is the purpose of these properties we are going to learn now? What is speciality about this value is, it will collect actually. So as of now, I will give only definition for this. Others in validation, I will tell. Value is an object that collects, collects all form data. That means every element and its value. It can collect all the form data. How many elements are there in the form, and what are the values in those elements? Everything you can collect with a single value. That is the ability of configuring a form. That is the advantage of configuring a form. Let's see here. Means how do we configure the form and how we configure the elements. Let's create that. I am creating a simple template now. So I will add a new component. So ng generate component template form skip test. Okay. Template form component I am creating here. And let's keep in the startup. So here in the module, so we will set up template form. Okay, right. That's done. Next, in index, I will keep template form. So we are adding that template form. Okay. Now here, localhost template form is working fine. Why? Let's design it now. In the template form HTML, now we are creating a simple heading, div class container fluid. Here a heading, register user, and here we will put a simple data list, data term, username. Now we need a form inside. Then we will keep everything in a form tag. In the form tag, we are adding this. So we have input type is equal to text. So I am adding another data term, suppose say mobile, and data definition input type is equal to text. Like this, simple. Later you can add all other details also. Just I will keep this simple, and we have a button. This is register button. Now I want to collect the data from this. Suppose there can be some another data term city, which can be data definition a select. Select have a option, some Delhi, so an option, some Hyderabad, like this. Now I want this data to collect, and I want this data to submit to server. I need to collect all the form data in one attempt. Now, previously you saw individually we need to configure username, mobile, city, and collect those three details separately. But now we can collect all the form data in simple way, and we can send to APIs, which we will do in the next level, sending to API, posting, how we do that. But how to collect this form is simple. Just what we do is, first we need to configure the form. And forms are configured by using hash, a reference name. Reference name FRM register, that is the reference name. How Angular recognizes that it is a form? By using ng form. Now Angular recognizes that it is a form. So it will allocate memory for form, and that memory reference name is FRM register. In that memory, it can keep all the details about form, about the form. So many details are required for a form. For example, some concepts I will tell you. For example, you opened account details in any website, you already registered, and you opened account details, your existing account details. Those account details can be modified. You want, you can change them. For that, they given a form. In that, there is an option save. There is an option save. You can make changes and you can save the changes. You might have observed that save button is not highlighted until or unless you do some changes. Have you noticed that? How form knows that any change happened inside? Change may be in any element. That means there are 20 fields. The change may be in any of those fields. It should be able to identify that some field modified. Then based on that, it can highlight save button, then save. Unnecessarily, we don't enable save button until or unless some modification is done. Because users may submit same data again without modifying. That is wasting of time. We will not allow the user to submit until or unless they do some modification. So save button will be there, but not be highlighted. It will be highlighted when any change happened in the form. How you will identify? For that, writing a logic to verify every field modified or not, it's a very risky thing. For that, we have ready-made options in Angular. That is why we need some information about form. That is why we need to configure a form. How we know form modified or not? How we know all the fields are valid or not? You might have seen some websites. They will not allow to submit the form if there is any error in the field. If there are no errors in the field, then only you can submit. How do we know that there are no errors? Means it should verify all fields. That is the reason why we need form. Now in this, every element must need a reference. First, name. What is the name for this is user name. How to make it dynamic? ng model hash user name is equal to ng model. This already we discussed. This is the template driven approach. So second, we have a name. This is mobile and ng model dynamic hash. So mobile is equal to ng model. Okay, next select. We have name. This is city. ng model hash city is equal to ng model. Okay, now here when you click this button, I hope you people know that in the general HTML buttons, if you define this HTML5 button, it is by default a submit button. I hope you know there are two types of buttons, generic, non-generic. Generic buttons are submit button, reset button. They are called generic buttons. Input type submit, input type reset, or button type submit, button type reset. They are generic buttons. Why they are called generic buttons? Because generic buttons by default have a functionality. Submit button by default have the functionality of submitting the form. Reset button by default have the functionality of resetting the form. So that's why they are called generic. Non-generic buttons means they are ordinary button without any predefined functionality. We have to write the functionality. How we create non-generic button? We have to keep button type as button. But actually default button type is what? Submit. There is another button type called reset, which is used to reset the form. So if you don't define type, by default it is submit. If you don't mention the type, every button is by default a submit button and it have the ability to submit the form. Submit the form. Now what we have to do is, additionally, when form is submitted, we have to collect the data from all the fields and send in to API. So let's go to TS file. In the TS file, we will create one method. Here we will create a method. So public, what is the method? Submit click. On submit click, I need to collect all the data from the form. Right? I hope you people know in HTML, form can be submitted in two requests, get and post. On get request, if we submit a form, where the data is present. On get request, if I submit a form, where the data is present. Data is present in query string. Query string. On post, if I submit data, then where data is present? On post, when you submit data, where data is present? Data is present in a location called form body. Form body. In HTML, when you submit data on get, it is in query string. When you submit data on post, it is in form body. That means whatever data is submitted, it will be in form body. We have to collect the form body. So here I am expecting here form data. It is what type? Any type. I am expecting form data any type. So now how to send all the form data here is simple. When users clicks the submit button, this form is submitted. When it is submitting, we want to collect all the form information. Then we will write a method called, we write a method submit. That is the method submit. Remember, submit is an event. It is an event written for form. Submit is an event written for form, and this will fire up when user clicks submit button. And when it fires up, which method to call? We have to call the method called submit click. We will call submit click. And what submit click is expecting? It is expecting all the form data. We can send all the form data in one attempt. How? By using FRM register dot value. FRM register is form. Dot value refers to all elements. Remember, FRM register, actually, I will show you that point here. This FRM register is actually technically it is an object. It is an object. Understood? It is an object. Actually, in that object, it will have field name and value. Field name is, we have user name and what value it is. It will have mobile and what value it is. It will have city and what value it is. This is an object. If you want, value means it will send entire object. If you want, you can send only particular details. Suppose I want to send only username. Then what we have to do? If you want to send only username, then we have to say FRM register dot value dot username. Understood? This will send only username. But we want to send all details. Then we can simply send value. It is going to send form value. Form value is all details. That means with one single attempt, you can transport complete data. This is the right and the best way of collecting data from a form, not independently. Not independently. That means you create 10 fields, you create 10 references. But what is advantage of this? Later, if you even add one more field, then automatically it is also collected. It is also collected. That is the advantage of this technique. So what we do now, we will go here. That data is coming now. We will send the data to APIs. Later we will do. Temporarily, I will put an alert. I will just put a message JSON.stringify, converting the data into JSON, and just I will show you. Form data, I will show you. I will show you what data is coming. By default, I converted this data into JSON. I am just showing you. Later, we will write the logic here to send data to API. There, we will write the logic for sending data to API. Now, you can observe here, I am entering the username. I am entering the mobile, some mobile. I am entering some city here. And I am selecting register and click, it should send all the data. In one attempt, you are collecting all the data. This is good. And this is the right way, right? We will not create lot of references. One for name, one for mobile, one for city. Just form can submit entire data. That is the concept of configuring a form. Configuring a form. Suppose we want to send only specific details. Only specific details. That means you see here, of course, if you know this is an object, you can print only name. How to print name? There is a field called what? Username. In the form data, it is an object. In that we have username. Then you can see you entered username, some mobile, and register, it will send only username. From the UI also, you can send only username if you want. But if you want, you can send all the details in one attempt. That can be done by using this approach. This is the concept of ng form. But here you've seen only value. Others we will see now. We will discuss about that, right? This is concept of that. How to collect the value from any field, that also we saw. How to collect value from any field. Individually, if you want to collect the value from any field. So temporarily what I will do, while they are typing itself, I want to display the value here. I will put a heading. So preview. I'm just giving preview, data preview, right? What data is sent, preview. I will put a pre, and here what I will do, I will simply access, what is it, form. So individually you can collect, or simply you can access FRM register dot value pipe, you can convert into JSON. You can convert into JSON. That means you can see while typing, see username, mobile, city, empty. I'm entering username, I'm selecting the mobile and city, all are there. I'm changing the city, it is showing there. So you can collect all the data, or you can do one thing, you can collect only specific details. That means I will define user details, something like this. In that we want, so a data list, in the data term, we want only username. Now tell me how to collect that. There are two techniques. There are two techniques to collect username. One technique is FRM register, in that what, value, in that what, user name. This is how we can access the username. There is another technique, another data term. I will give another username. Another technique I will show you here. What is the tech, or simply mobile also. Suppose mobile, how to access that? Another technique is without form reference, directly you can access what? Mobile dot value. This already we done earlier. Am I right? We can access with reference of form, we can access direct. That means you can see now, you can see here. So user details, I'm changing the size. Yeah, I'm entering the details. You can see it is coming. Individually you can collect the details, or together you can collect the details. You can see the details are coming at the bottom, right? That means there are two techniques. We can get with reference of form, and we can directly get. What is the advantage of getting with reference of form? So form will provide access to all, right? When you are dealing with multiple, then better go with form. You are individually dealing, then better go with independent references. We can use any technique for that. This is configuring of a template form. How to collect the data from a form and how to use it. How to use it. So this is configuration example. So this is template form dot component dot ts. In the ts, I added only one thing. Yeah, and another one, template form dot component dot html. Sometimes you people may have a doubt that you said that all the template form is configured in UI level, but you are writing some code in TS file. Do you have any such doubt? Template form is configured completely in UI level. And here I am writing some method in TS file. Of course, why? Because configuring only in UI level, but complete manipulation we need to manage in TypeScript. That means configuring is all done in UI level. So manipulation, of course, you have to use a TS file, collecting the data, submitting to server, all this is done by TS. You cannot do that from the front end UI. You have to collect the data and you have to manage sending the data to APIs in the background through methods only, right? That means configuring related anything, no need to define in controller. All the configuring in done in which level? UI. Only the manipulation we are managing in the code, right? The configuration related anything will not be in the UI. That is the concept. Now, in this template form, one of the main challenge is not allowing user to submit wrong data. That means user can submit only the data that we are expecting. So this is called validation. This is called validation. So we will say validating template form. So what is the concept of validating? Let's see. First point, tell me what is validation. Validation is the process of verifying user input. Validation is the process of verifying user input. We are checking the user input. Why you are checking? Why you are checking the user input? Why you are verifying the user input? So validation is required to ensure that contradictory and unauthorized data is not get stored into database. That is the main concept. Why you need validation? Validation is required to make sure that contradictory data and unauthorized data is not stored in the database. What is meant by contradictory? Means the data type which we are expecting and the data which user inputs are not matching. That is contradictory. Contradictory means what I am expecting, you are not sending. That is contradictory. Unauthorized means I mentioned a limit and you are crossing that limit. That means you are not authorized to go outside that limit. That is what unauthorized. That means validation is required in any application to make sure that contradictory and unauthorized data is not get stored into the database. That is the main concept. And actually, in web applications, you can validate server side and you can validate client side. Two techniques are there. And compulsory, both are required. Why? Because server side validation is done by using server side scripting. So JSP, PHP, ASP, all these will do. Node.js, all these do server side validation. And the client side validation is done by using JavaScript. So jQuery, Angular, React, and all these we do client side. Now, why we need validations both sides? Why we need validation both sides? Because client side validation will reduce the burden on server. The main purpose of writing client side validation is to reduce burden on server. As much as possible, web developers' main idea is to reduce burden on server. Actually, you are in the modern generation of web development. So when we started web designing in the early days of web and server side scripting, 80% all the logic is server side and only 20% client side. That is the ratio when we started web development. Now in the current generation, 20% server side, 80% client side. So much changed in the trends. So that is the reason even a very senior experienced web developer also have to get in touch of latest front-end technologies. Otherwise, he can't develop latest generation sites. That means a 10 years, 15 years experienced person who is working on web technology, now he is coming here to learn Angular, React like things. What is the necessity? Because now the generation is in such a way that majority we manage client side. We manage client side, but there are some drawbacks client side. If client side validation is good, it is reducing burden on server, then why we have server side validation? Why we have server side validation? Because what is the issue? Client side validation can be bypassed. Client side validation can be bypassed by browser. Browser can bypass client side validation, bypass it. So by browser, it can be bypassed by browser. That means browser can disable JavaScript. If JavaScript is disabled in browser, so many times people ask this question. I don't know why they ask. Are they serious or silly? Because many times people ask that, sir, in interview asked if JavaScript is disabled, Angular will work or not. That is a serious joke actually. And if interviewer is asking that means he is having a doubt on your minimum skills. Understand? That means with JavaScript disabled, no technology in the world of JavaScript can run on browser if JavaScript is disabled on browser. Right? And anybody asking, will Angular work if JavaScript is, this is not satisfying at all. Angular, React, no technology of JavaScript can run without JavaScript enabled on browser. JavaScript can be disabled on browser. You see, suppose I'm using this on Chrome. You can do it on Edge also. I don't want to disturb my Edge settings, right, as of now, because we are doing some other exercises. I will go into Chrome. You see, Chrome / settings. In Chrome settings, you can search for JavaScript. I'm searching for JavaScript. There is site settings. In that JavaScript settings, so you see JavaScript is allowed. Don't allow sites to use JavaScript. I'm selecting that don't allow sites to use JavaScript. I blocked JavaScript. After blocking JavaScript, now you see I'm using this localhost :4200, which is our Angular app. You see nothing is coming. JavaScript disabled, no technology in the world of JavaScript will work. No chance, right? So that is not a question at all actually. But if they doubt your skills of basics also, then they will ask these questions. That means by talking to you 1 minute, they come to a conclusion that he don't know basic of web designing. Then he will ask these questions. Right? That means he knows that you don't know even proper HTML. Then these questions are common. And they may even ask how to know JavaScript enabled or not. How to know JavaScript enabled or not in index page? What you can do, you can write a simple no script element. Please enable JavaScript. This message we are writing. This is the message we are writing, and this message you can see here actually that will display. If JavaScript is enabled, it will not display. If JavaScript is enabled, this message will not come. If JavaScript is not enabled, this message will come. Now I enable JavaScript. You see JavaScript allow JavaScript and done. And refresh this page. Now it is working fine. So your output is working fine. If JavaScript is disabled, then it will not work. So there is no question at all, right? JavaScript disabled, will this option work in Angular? This option will work in React? No chance. There is no chance, right? Now the question is why JavaScript is disabled? Why they given that option? If JavaScript is compulsory, mandatory, then why they given an option to disable JavaScript? Because JavaScript have several security issues. To prevent that, we disable JavaScript. JavaScript have a lot of security issues. JavaScript is primarily used by Trojans. Trojans will broadcast your information to others through JavaScript. That means Trojans are more dangerous than virus. Trojans can broadcast your information to others. So if anybody can sit on your laptop or he can take your mobile, and he can install a Trojan in your mobile or laptop. He can go home and see what you are doing. Trojans are very dangerous. You even may not know that a Trojan is running in your device. They will not be visible. Right? That means even you don't know that. How this broadcasting happens? Suppose you see, of course, you see CC cameras. You can put a CC camera somewhere and you can watch somewhere. How it is broadcasting that information here? These all are so many points here. So the point is JavaScript is required to transport the data. It is required to transport that information to you. So for this concept, JavaScript is very dangerous. That's the reason we disable. And if JavaScript disabled, no chance. Angular will not work. Angular will not work. So if JavaScript is disabled, client-side validations also will not work. Then what we have to do? If client-side validation is working, how you can simply leave like that? You have to catch those validations server-side. So you need a combination of both client-side as well as server-side. If client-side is working, you can bypass server-side because it is verified. If client-side not working, at least you need to catch server-side. That is the reason mandatory that you have to write both client-side as well as server-side because you can't take chance. So that is the concept. Validation can be client-side and server-side. Now we are not learning server-side validation. We are learning client-side validation. So here, client-side validations in JavaScript and jQuery are defined by using lot of functions. Client-side validations are defined by using lot of functions, which is very complex. Suppose in JavaScript, can we tell me how to verify a number? How to verify whether they entered a number or not? In JavaScript, how? We have to use a method called isNaN. That is not a number, which is used to verify whether the value entered a number or not. If not number, then do something. If number, allow. How to verify string size? We have to use string.length property. How to verify whether it is between 4 to 10? Then again, we need to write a condition is greater than 4, less than 10. These are all functions. By using functions, we have to verify. In JavaScript or jQuery. What is speciality of Angular is actually Angular provides validation services. That's good. Angular provides validation services. So you don't need any methods to write. It provides ready-made validation services. What is advantage is Angular validation services can use HTML validation attributes. Can use HTML validation attributes and verify your value. So you don't need to write separate validation. So you can use HTML validation attributes and you can manage validation. Now tell me, what are the HTML validation attributes available in HTML? What are the HTML validations available in HTML? Actually, HTML5 provides lot of validations. What are the validations HTML5 provides? Required. It provides min length. It provides max length. It provides pattern. It provides number. It provides an email. It provides an URL. So these are all validation attributes. And without writing any JavaScript logic, these validations can directly work. HTML5 have all these validation attributes. HTML5 can use all these validation attributes. It have that ability. So that is actually HTML5 validation attributes. Now you see, suppose you see, I am using some HTML. Where is that file? Yeah. You see, I am using some HTML. So a HTML, I will put up HTML page. So in this we have form, and in this we have username, and we have input type is text, and name is username. And here I am giving a submit button. And actually you see here, I am not writing any script here. I am just using an attribute called required. I'm using an attribute called required, and you know that HTML5 have a required attribute, and without entering anything I submit, it validates. You don't need any JavaScript for that. It validates. These are HTML5 validations. For example, we have option like min length. Min length is 4. And I click here, please fill out. Okay, I'm filling out some JOH, and it says minimum 4 characters. Minimum 4 characters. So that is validating. Suppose I am using a pattern. And here I am saying A-Z. So 4, 10. That means minimum 4, maximum 10, only uppercase. That is a pattern. And in HTML, you learned all these. These are all HTML. Right? And if you enter something, John, so in lowercase, it says, please match the pattern. Because according to the pattern, it should be uppercase. Then only it can submit it. These are all HTML5 validations, and Angular can use them. That means why to use additional functions, time waste? Already HTML5 is having. If Angular can use them, then it can easily validate them. That is what the ability. Now, one more point is there. If HTML5 already having validation, then why to write in Angular? What do you say? If HTML is already validating, why to write in Angular? We are saying that Angular is going to use these HTML validations. Why you are using? Already leave it to HTML. Already it is doing. Already HTML is doing, then why you have to write? Because the validations provided by HTML may not suit your requirements. Then we have to write and customize according to our requirements. That means now what it is doing, observe here, what it is doing, I said submit. It says please fill out field. That's okay. That means I have to fill the field. Okay. Now I said some name. So and save here. Please match the format. What is that format? Who knows? Who knows your format, what you mentioned? Then that means it is good validating, but it is not friendly. It is not showing what you need. That means it should tell minimum 3 characters. It should tell uppercase only. It's not doing that. So we need to customize this. So not only that, many validations may not suit your requirements. For example, you see, suppose you may use input type email. Okay. Here I am asking email. You may use input type email. I am using this all remove. Okay. You may ask input type email. Here user can enter email. What is the specialty? Here is email. Okay. Yeah. Now what is the specialty here is I am entering email. John gmail something John. Submit. It says please include at the net. That is very good. It is showing that at the net is not there. Okay, I will write at the net and GM. Is it valid? It is not valid, but it is submitting. What is this? I don't want like this. You have email validation, but that is not satisfying for me. They have a input type tel. Tel is telephone number, but it will validate US telephone number. Why should I use US telephone number? I don't need that. So these validations are there, but they need to be customized according to our requirements. Then we need these services. So what is the specialty of Angular? It can use these validations and it can implement the validations and it can customize them according to your requirements. That is very, very good. That means it will take required and it will not show the message, please fill out the field. It will show what message you want. Understood? That is the concept of validation. That means Angular is using HTML5 validations, but customizing them according to our requirement. For that, it is having some services. Actually, Angular validation services are categorized into two groups. We have form state validation services. We have input state validation services. Validation service. Two types are there. Form state validation services means they verify all fields in the form. Input state validation means it will verify only every field individually. Suppose you want to verify form, then use form state. You want to verify fields in the form, then use input state. Why they are required, I told you. If there are 4 fields in the form, how do we know any field modified or not? That we can do by using form state. Actually, form state services. So form state services advantage is they are used to verify all fields in the form simultaneously at the same time, all at the same time they will verify. That means not one by one, they will verify all the fields simultaneously at the same time. So the services are, we have the services like, I will give here service name, property and description. Let's take a simple table point here. Like service name, we have a service called ng pristine and the property name is pristine. And description, tell me Pristine is an English word. What does pristine means? Pristine is a general English word. What does pristine means? Okay, I will tell in your way. Like in Goa, we have South Goa, North Goa. South Goan beaches are pristine. North Goan beaches are common. Everybody visits North Goa. South Goan beaches are pristine. They are never touched very much. That means nobody visits them very much. Very rarely people go there. Pristine means they are untouched. Untouched. That means empty. They are, nobody touched them. Those are pristine. Pristine is a general term. Pristine means it is untouched. That means no modification happened. Untouched. That is what actually pristine means. It is untouched or not modified. Modified. We call this as pristine. So we have NG dirty. Dirty means the property is dirty. That means it refers means modified simply. So that means modified. Modified means what? Any field modified inside the form, it will be dirty. That means any one field modified, it will be dirty. That means modified means you can say any, so any one field modified. Any one field modified, then it will be true. Understood? These all are what type? These all services are Boolean type. They return true or false. That means pristine is not modified, it will return true. If anything is modified, it will return false. Similarly, we have NG valid, which is valid. Valid means all fields are valid. All fields are valid. So NG invalid. That means we have to use invalid. So any one field is invalid. If any one field is invalid, complete form is invalid. Complete form is invalid, right? And we have NG submitted. NG submitted. We have option submitted. Submitted. This is to verify that form is submitted. Form is submitted. That means form status, whether it is submitted or not. All these are the form state services. By using these services, we can verify what is happening in the form. Are they doing any modifications? Are they are not doing any modification? Are all fields are having valid data? Everything we can verify by using these services. First, we will see what they return. Actually, as I told you, they return Boolean. Boolean true or false. Let's see. For your understanding sake, we will put some validations now. We will put some validations in our template form. We will delete these details. Okay. Now, just I will add for your confirmation. Yeah. I will put a div and class as row, and we div the class as call sum3. In that all the form, and we have another div, and in that we have class as, so class as call 9, and in this I will put here form state services. I will just put here form state services, just for your understanding sake. Data list and data term, here I will say pristine. Pristine. Pristine means what? Pristine means I am just giving an option. So no modification. So it is untouched, right? Simply form is untouched. Untouched. The form is untouched. How to know that information? How to know that information form is untouched or not? Just we have to use FRM register, that is the form For that, there is a property called pristine. We have a property called pristine. In the library, it is ng pristine. While accessing, we use pristine. Similarly, I will use another term, dirty. Dirty means what? Form modified. Form modified means dirty. How to get that information? FRM register dot what? Dirty. Okay. Another term, that is valid. Valid means all fields are valid. If all fields are valid, then it will return valid. So what is the data definition? Here I will just give an option. What is it? FRM register dot valid. And one more option is invalid. Invalid means what? Any one field is not valid. Okay. If any one field is not valid, it should return true, right? FRM register dot invalid. This is just to show you what they return so that you can understand their behavior. Here, form submitted. Form submitted true or not, we will verify that by using FRM register dot what? Submitted. Now you can see all those details are collected here in our page. You can see those details. You see now, form pristine is true. That means it is not touched yet. Dirty is false, because if it is modified, dirty will be true. So valid true, because there are no validations. Let's put some validations. I will put the validations. For name, I will put required. For name, I am giving required. For mobile, I am giving required. For mobile, I am giving required. And for mobile, what I am giving extra, I am giving a pattern. Pattern for mobile is /+91 and /D and 10 digits number. These are the validation expressions. Have you learned these validation expressions in HTML? If not, I will give a list of these expressions. You have to implement them, right? These are basic in HTML. Now, this validation expression indicates mobile number should start with +91 and it should contain 10 digits number. Now see here, you see valid is false now. Why valid is false? Because required is not satisfied. Several more problems are there. Invalid is true and form is not submitted. Let's do modification. Let's click in the username and type the username. What does this mean? Pristine is false now. Pristine is false. Pristine is false means it is modified. Dirty is true now. And valid is still false. Why? Because mobile also required na. I am writing 9876543221. Mobile also entered, but still it is valid is false. Invalid is true. Why? Because it should start with which one? +91. Now valid is true, invalid is false. Is form submitted? Not yet submitted. I click register, then automatically form submitted. Okay, now it will be true. These are all important. Actually, why you learnt all these? To understand how to implement. Now tell me how to enable register button only when it is valid. Register button should not work until all the fields are valid. Tell me how to do that. That's very simple. For button, we have to put a property called, what is the property? Disabled. Am I right? Disabled property true or false depends on FRM register dot if it is invalid. Am I right? Disabled will be true if form register is invalid. Disabled will be false if it is valid. That means you see now, this invalid will return invalid or not. That means you see register button not working. Register button not working. I need to enter the details, still not working, because still it is invalid na. right? I will enter the mobile number. Now it is working. There is problem in mobile number. It will be disabled immediately. You entered the mobile number correct. It's fine. You removed the name, then it is disabled automatically. Anything invalid, it will not submit. That means you can verify all the fields by using one option. That is form state. That is form state. But this is not satisfying. Why? Because what is invalid, we have to tell detail. Name is required, mobile is required, mobile plus 91, it should have 10 digits number, name length should be minimum 4, all these. That is input state validation. Here, now similarly, many times you have doubt like why I need submitted, why I need pristine. For everything we have condition. For example, suppose I am giving some edit button, okay? In this button, I will put an edit button, edit. Or I will put a save button, okay? Save. Save button should be enabled only when any modification happened. Understood? Then how do we do that? So we will keep save button disabled. When it should be disabled, enabled, that depends on whether any modification happened or not. How to verify that? We can use FRM register. So if disabled, if it is what? Dirty. Right? So disabled must be depending on dirty means dirty true means modified. Modified means it should be enabled. Then what we will do? We will use pristine. Am I right? Pristine means it is not untouched. Untouched true means it is not touched means true. True means disable the save button. So you can see the save button is disabled. When it will be enabled, you done some modification, it will be enabled. Any modification you done, it is enabled. How do we verify whether modification happened in the form or not? For that, we need the form state validation. So form state validation services are required to verify whether the form is valid, whether the form is invalid, whether the form submitted, is it modified or not. All these things are important in next level also. So not only for this, sometimes what you do, you click inside a field and without typing anything you come out, then immediately it shows a message saying that please fill out this. That means we can even verify whether it is touched or not. Not modified, we can even verify whether it is touched or not. For that we need another concept, input state validations. These are all which state validations? Form state. We can use form state, input state combination. This is example to understand all these concepts. This is the example. Here nothing to do in the controller. Here we have to just use template form dot component dot HTML. This is just HTML. Everything you can configure in the HTML. And very important is it is unable to submit until everything is correct. For that, what we have done, we have disabled. Important here, you can use for a lot of effects also. Suppose if you remembered, I told you class dynamically. Suppose if form is not valid, entire form should be in red color background. If form is valid, then it should be in green color. Right? That means such user interface effects also we can manage. How we do that? We learned dynamic classes. Na? Let's go to the CSS file. In the CSS file, I am giving, so invalid style. So invalid style, what is that? I will give some background color as a light red. So light coral, like this I will give. Very light I will give. That means I can use an RGB for mixing such light red so that I can see my content also. Another option is valid style. Valid style, what we will do? Background color we will put green and it will be very light green. So light green so that I can see through the content, right? Now this is valid style and invalid style. We have two options. And for form, what I will do is padding, I will give 20 pixels, some gap will come around the form. Okay, now you see here in the template form, this is the form container. For this form, we need to apply class. We know ng class. And you have learned object style to turn on and off. What is the first class? What is it? Valid style. When to apply this valid style? When FRM register is dot what? Valid. Understood? And another one, what is it? Invalid style. When to apply that invalid style? When FRM register dot what? Invalid. We can apply some effects. That means now you can see the form is in a red color. It will apply. All these elements I need to adjust little bit because all these are lengthy. That means what we will do is for this, we will put a class as form control. This also class as form control. And that will keep these elements fit inside them. That will be better. Now, generally what happens is when you are entering the form, you can see enter the details, still it is red, enter the mobile number, it is green now. You can change the appearance. We can dynamically change the appearance. That means anything is not valid, then it turns to red. Right? Anything is entered, now it is fine. These are the formats you can apply. That for that you need to add one ng class here. I will copy that here. This is an example, right? That means here we are using template form dot component dot css. In that we added these styles, and only one modification we have done in that form. I will give just only the form tag what validation I have done. This is what we have done. Rest of concept is same. Right? That means we are applying a class, valid style if it is valid, invalid style if it is invalid. That is the basic thing how we configure the effects. But this is not satisfying because this is related to entire form. We need to verify every field and report. That means name is required. Please set name to 4 characters, name to short, name to long. Your password is wrong. Use one uppercase letter. All such validations we have to define. That is input state validation. That we will see in next session. Monday we will do that. So Monday we will finish the template form. Validation, how we to write for every field we will discuss. Then we will go into reactive form. Reactive form means dynamically how we can create the forms. That we'll see on Monday session. Okay, right. Yeah.